Marine reacts to SCP-2000, also known as Deus Ex Machina, and its object class Thaumiel, and is considered a memory-altering / structure/building SCP by Eastside Show SCP. As always, I'm going to be leaving a link to the original video, channel down in the description below, so go and make sure that you check them out. So Deus Ex Machina. Now, anytime I've heard this term a lot, and at the beginning I really didn't even know what it meant, so I had to search up the definition just to make sure that it was what I thought it was, and it was. And it's just a situation that seems very plot driven in terms of there's a hopeless situation, and then somehow the hero comes out of it. And it's usually what I guess you could also consider it plot armor in a sec, or something that's very convenient to the story. I don't know how exactly that is considered an SCP, or how someone could make that one. Let's just go ahead and get to the actual video. But before we do, don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me a lot. Hit that notification bell right there, so you get notified every time I do upload. Sometimes I'm uploading twice a day. Now I'm working on them whenever I can, and then releasing them early the next day. That way when you all wake up, you have a fresh new video first thing in the morning. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what SCP-2000, or Deus Ex Machina, is all about.
Warning: HMCL and O5 approval required. The file you are attempting to access is available to personnel with Level 4/2000 clearance only. This clearance is not included in General Level 4 Security Protocol. Attempting access beyond this point without necessary clearance is grounds for termination of Foundation employment and cancellation of all educational, medical, retirement, and mortality benefits. By submitting your credentials, you hereby consent to exposure to a known cognito-hazardous image, and verify that you have been inoculated against that image. In the event of unauthorized access, this console will become inoperable. Security personnel will be dispatched to revive you and escort you to a detention cell for interrogation. Attempting to access this file from any computer not connected to the Foundation Intranet will result in immediate termination regardless of clearance. Submit login credentials. Level 4/2000 clearance required. Security cognito-hazard activated. Scanning for neural activity. Consciousness confirmed. Retrieving file. Item number SCP-2000. Object Class Thaumiel. Special Containment Procedures. The entrance to SCP-2000 is disguised as the disused Park Ranger Station in Yellowstone National Park. Despite several civilian trespassing attempts, the entrance has yet to be breached in the installation's recorded history, and no further physical containment has been deemed necessary. Protocol Plain Sight 201 is in effect for SCP-2000. Necessary supplies and replacement personnel may be delivered via unmarked road vehicles or civilian helicopter as appropriate. No personnel below Level 4/2000 clearance are permitted access to documentation regarding SCP-2000 or any protocols associated with its containment and upkeep. No personnel below Level 5/2000 clearance are permitted access to SCP-2000 below Sub-Level 3. All personnel assigned to SCP-2000 must submit to Neural Archetype Scan on a monthly basis. Personnel stationed on-site must submit to weekly scan to be stored locally. Level 4/2000 personnel or above stationed on-site are not permitted to leave Yellowstone National Park during the course of their assignment. In the event of transfer, either elective or compulsory, Class A amnestics must be administered, and false memories implanted consistent with assignment to other high-security or Keter-class SCP objects.
Two things. First, he's talking really quickly, and the voice is a little low for me, but I believe I've only ever seen one of his videos before in the past, and it was a joke SCP, but the big red button. But yeah, he's just talking a little too fast, so if I do mess up things, just know I'm trying my best to keep up. But also, as far as when he said that they would use the amnestics and implant memories, now is that just them kind of like talking to them and just telling them like, hey, yeah, you were this or that, or is it something that they use, like, I don't know, maybe another SCP to actually implant fake memories in them?
Additional personnel may be assigned to SCP-2000 and granted temporary Level 4/2000 clearance at the discretion of the item's HMCL Supervisor, currently Dr. Charles Gears, and O5 Command. The exterior surface of SCP-2000 is surrounded by Scranton Reality Anchors, SRAs, every 20 meters, arranged hexagonally to prevent incursion by hostile anomalous interference. Each SRA's function must be checked semi-annually and replaced as necessary. Technicians servicing SRA components may reference Document SRA-033, Revision 1.0.7. 5 X-Yank Anastasicus Constant Temporal Sinks, or X-Ax, capable of maintaining stable tachyon flux across the expanse of the facility, maximum output rating of 100 watts each, have been installed and are to be maintained monthly. Technicians servicing X-Ax components may refer to Document X-Ax-864, Revision 1.3.0. One pseudo-Romanian manifold has been initiated at the entrance to Sublevel 4 and must remain open at all times. In the event of the manifold's failure, Procedure Dead Euclid 101 is to be executed immediately. Other non-anomalous life support and utility systems may be maintained in accordance with Standard Foundation Maintenance Protocol, Section 101.5, Mission Critical Components. Whenever possible, non-anomalous materials and resources are to be used for SCP-2000's maintenance and repair. In the event of any K-Class scenario which does not compromise the existence or function of SCP-2000, Procedure CYA-009 is to be enacted as soon as possible. Remaining Foundation installations globally are to monitor the scenario as it unfolds, preserving what material resources are possible under the Ganymede Protocol until such time as all remaining sites respond all clear to SCP-2000 queries as defined in Document 2000 XKAC-1.9. Upon receipt of all clear code, Procedure Lazarus-01 is to be implemented. Administrator Note: I want this on permanent record, and I don't rightly care if you think it's an insult to your intelligence. Some things are just as important. This device is absolutely not an excuse to let down our guard or take greater risks with SCP objects or cross-test them or whatever you might have in mind. Primary containment is still our best chance of survival. Otherwise there would be no reason to make the cover-up so extensive. We can only suspend God's disbelief so many times before the universe just says no. And considering what we've had to deal with in these past few decades, we may have passed that point already. Former Administrator Dr. William Fritz. Description:
Okay. Shit. I don't even know what to say. I'm not retaining any of this. I mean, those were supposed to be the special containment procedures. I hardly understood any of it. I don't know why. It's just not sticking in my head. But I am trying to remember at least as much as I can, or like little key things that stick out.
SCP-2000 is a subterranean Foundation installation originally constructed sometime in the last years for the purpose of reconstructing civilization in the event that a K-Class end-of-the-world scenario could not be averted in time to prevent humanity's extinction or near extinction. Since its inception, SCP-2000 has been activated at least twice. Foundation records regarding SCP-2000's construction and history prior to this assumed first use has been lost. Whether this information blackout is a result of accident or design is impossible to determine. The mission-critical portion of this installation begins 75 meters below ground level and extends to 100 meters depth.
Okay, so just reiterating things in my mind so I can try to ingrain it. So it's located underneath, hence the structure building. It's there. I don't believe he said who created it, but that it's there in case of an end of the world type scenario, and that it's been used twice, and that the first time that it's been used, that history or that moment is lost. But as far as how exactly is that supposed to help humanity or save humanity, kind of like what he was saying, I don't know. Maybe because like these look obviously little capsules, right? And they look like people are inside them. And I mean, I completely wrong now. So,
although the scope of engineering required to recreate SCP-2000 in its entirety is impossible to execute while maintaining secrecy, all subsystems of SCP-2000 have been successfully reproduced in laboratory setting. The installation and all procedures involved in its upkeep are mundane in nature. See Document 2000-SS-EX for information regarding esoteric Foundation technologies necessary for SCP-2000's function. Primary power for the facility is a liquid fluoride thorium reactor rated for 1 GW total output, with a reactor life of 70 years at maximum capacity. A geothermal generator has also been installed to take advantage of the region's volcanic activity. This generator is capable of powering the facility in standby mode indefinitely. SCP-2000 also contains water treatment facilities, air purification and recycling systems, hydroponic production wings, and housing necessary to permanently sustain up to 10,000 personnel.
Okay, so it's not just necessarily these pods in general. It's more like a doomsday bunker, from what it's seeming like, because he's mentioning like the recycling things, the um, place to hold up to 10,000 people. So definitely sounds more like a bunker.
To fulfill its primary mission, SCP-2000 includes 500,000 bright, Zarshan hominid replicators. At peak capacity, SCP-2000 is capable of producing 100,000 viable, non-anomalous humans per day, with a warm-up period of 5 days. Utilizing an underground Romanian transit pipe to collect raw material from various hot springs, an underground magma flows in the area, and a computer memory bank housing data on all known human alleles, this system is capable of recreating any lost human genome, or generating as many new and unique genomes as necessary to repopulate human civilization. Researcher note: use of the BZHR system is currently suspended outside of maintenance testing and emergency situations. See why.
Okay, so that's definitely like how in the movies, right, where there's always just like something like, say, for example, when they said that the world was, if the world is ending, then they can have these people, or they can make the people, I'm assuming, in these little vats, that they just come back, and that the human population is somewhat secured. But how exactly? He hasn't gone into too much detail as far as I can remember, as going into the what exactly or how these people are being made, technically, or who created this place. I mean, and if he did, just and then it completely slipped my mind.
A-009 is still go. Possible hostile incursion is still being investigated, and this database is proving particularly difficult to debug. We're still seeing a distribution of congenital and genetic defects far above baseline numbers. Right now I can only guarantee about 60 to 75% viability in new specimens. See Addendum 2000-1. Dr. Christopher Zarshan, MD. Biotech Research and Development. Humans produced by this process can be advanced to any age desired without extending the 5-day incubation period. In addition to construction features, the BZHR also has the ability to implant memories by administration of Class G hallucinogenics and developmental hypnotherapy. Life histories, neural archetype scans, and genomes of many Foundation personnel, including all personnel level 4/2000 clearance and above, are maintained to ensure that SCP-2000 may be activated and Procedure Lazarus-01 can be initiated by as few as one surviving human. After the implementation of the Ganymede Protocol, indicating a failure of the Foundation to prevent a K-Class scenario, SCP-2000 security systems will unlock, allowing any Foundation employee to initiate Procedure CYA-009. If, after 20 years, SCP-2000 remains inactive, security will be relaxed further, allowing any non-anomalous human being to access the facility and initiate the procedure. Once activated, SCP-2000's internal monitoring systems will attempt to locate all personnel level 4/2000 clearance and assess their condition. Mission-critical personnel not found will be replicated using the most recent neural archetype scan on file, and awakened prior to the initialization of any other systems. After these personnel are revived, security logs will resume normal function. For a complete list of contingency options available, Level 5/2000 personnel may access Document 2000-CYA-09. Note that receipt of the All-Clear Code as defined by Document 2000-XKAC-1.9 may be waived only if all other Foundation facilities have been rendered inoperative. Otherwise, security and mobile task force elements provided under Procedure CYA-009 will be dispatched to all remaining Foundation facilities to confirm their function and the integrity of local reality. Procedure Lazarus-01 will begin when an authorized Level 5/4/2000 Foundation employee inputs the desired resume date into SCP-2000's BZHR Control Unit. Available units will then begin production of prominent political and cultural leaders of the time period using descriptions, genetic information on file, as well as replication of a global populace consistent with the chosen time period. Most of SCP-2000's floor space is dedicated to storage of building materials, construction equipment, factory machinery, agricultural equipment, and computer database storage. In addition to infrastructure concerns, a wide cultural base with copies of thousands of famous works of art, music, literature, and a full backup of the World Wide Web are kept on-site in the event that other repositories are destroyed.
Alright, so with all that being in there, this is kind of seeming like its own little world. Or it could be its own little world. Now, as far as messing with, I believe he mentioned also messing with the genome or the actual DNA of the people that they can grow in these things, or these pods. Could they make them immune to the, like, say, I don't know, for example, like radiation or things of that nature, so like that they don't get sick, or maybe beef them up to be more resistant to physical pain. I mean, for example, like, maybe beef them up to like space marine status, or or if that's just not the case, then that's not the case. But this seems like it can also be a way, as far as altering the gene, and could it also be seen in a way that they could evolve humanity? Like, for like obviously for like good, like going back to that, like maybe making them immune to diseases, having natural. I don't know if you can get to like maybe having antibodies like to like every disease, or I don't know, things of that nature. But it seems like if you had one person that was really like maybe messed up and that they had this, or that they had control of this area, which doesn't seem possible because I'm pretty sure the SCP Foundation obviously has people guarding it. That it sounds very god-like as well in a sense, right? Because they're technically creating life. Not like obviously not naturally, but artificially.
HMCL Note: discovered this note in previous iteration records at Lazarus-01 conclusion. Researcher note: if we ever have to do this again, do not set the resume date further back than 20 years before the event. Not only can we piggyback on a lot of undestroyed structures if we do, but it will make continuity a lot easier to resume. Years is too many. We're straining personnel such as it is without having to rebuild the chronological specifications just to save time on the population and agricultural demands. Besides, how much of the 20th to 20th centuries do we really want to rewrite, and how many times? Isn't one Great War hard enough to keep track of? Dr. Henrietta Eisenhower, Historian. My tenure as SCP-2000's HMCL will honor this request, currently pursuing official documentation update to account for this change. 2 world wars is plenty. We do not need to hazard a third. Dr. Charles Gears, HMCL Supervisor. The first replacement humans housed off-site must necessarily be informed of SCP-2000's existence and function as they are being created. This strategy allows newly constructed humans to assist in construction and recolonization efforts directly, and skill sets appropriate to reconstruction have been pre-selected for increased prevalence in the first 5 million individuals produced. As global population increases, the process of diaspora and reconstruction will accelerate geometrically, allowing economic and agricultural infrastructure to recover as quickly as possible. While it is feasible that some replacement humans will not survive the initial renovation period, such individuals can be recreated indefinitely until all major population centers and Foundation facilities have been completed. Foundation administrative assets during this period will focus on the falsification of dendrochronological, astronomical, and radiometric dating records necessary to maintain the appearance of historical continuity. Please see Document 2000 Retcon version 2.3.3 for details. In the event that significant portions of natural habitat are also destroyed prior to the project's completion, refer to Document 2001 Tier version 3.0 for approved rapid regrowth methods. It is estimated that the world population, manufacturing capability, agricultural production, and culture can be reset to 2000 CE levels 25 to 50 years after the procedure is implemented. At the conclusion of Procedure Lazarus-01, amnestic agent ENUI-5 will be released en masse, causing all reconstructed humans to forget their affiliation with Foundation assets. History will then resume from the chosen date. Each procedure will necessarily alter the course of human events due to the enormous complexity of human social interaction. Further research into predictive historical modeling based on observations from prior completions of the Procedure Lazarus-01 is ongoing. HMCL Note: no further proposals for behavior or cultural modification will be accepted at this time. Previous attempts to ameliorate violent or sociopathic tendencies in humanity as a whole have already been implemented and deemed successful. Experimentation using second iteration subjects indicates that further modification would undermine tenacity to such a degree that technological and social progress would be noticeably inhibited. See Experiment Log for further information. Dr. Charles Gears, HMCL Supervisor. Document 2000-SS-EX. The following information establishes basic operational parameters of technology developed specifically for the SCP-2000 project.
Okay, man, something. This is probably my I don't know how to describe it. I'm not picking up almost damn near anything. Like very little that's very seeping in, and I don't know if this is. I mean, it's more likely than not just me, just because. I mean, I need I need things read a little slower, or this might be one of those SCPs where I would actually have to read the file and read it at my own pace. I'm definitely not a fast reader, which is why I usually prefer audiobooks, and it's usually, for me at least, very dependent on the speed. Um, I mean, I feel like I could slow it down, but I feel like if I did, this would just be like insanely long, even though it's only 23 minutes. But I mean, I can't really, and because of that, I can't really think of anything in terms of I don't know, theories or like things to try to take apart and then try to ask more questions. I mean, this is definitely one of those that I'm gonna need someone in the comments to really tell me just what's the basic idea or what this really is. I mean, I understand it's underground. It's essentially a backup plan if the human race ever got wiped out, the world ended. I know that it grows people. It's basically a whole little world down there, and that's pretty much it from all I'm getting. There's a lot of, I mean, it's also just maybe due to the way the person who wrote this SCP. I mean, I understand that when I was kind of toying with the idea of writing my own SCP, I saw just ways on the actual website like how you would write one, and it says you got to be very, I guess, scientific with your words. Like you can't be saying like or like very simplistic words, I guess, but you've got to like write it as if it was an actual researcher, scientist writing it. So that's probably the biggest reason why it's not really sinking in for me. And also anything that deals with memory altering or anything. I mean, I haven't heard anything memory altering wise actually, but yeah.
Although this technology may appear to be anomalous, it is based entirely on verifiable scientific principles currently in use by the Foundation to effect containment. The invention of the Scranton Reality Anchor appears to predate the first activation of SCP-2000 and is credited to Dr. Robert Scranton in 1889. The main body and much of the circuitry of the SRA are constructed of a corrosion-resistant beryllium-bronze alloy. Inspired by artifacts recovered, effectively eliminating the appearance of virtual particle-antiparticle pairs required for Type Green reality bending phenomenon to manifest. Due to the expense involved in producing the beryllium-bronze alloy required for the SRA's construction, Foundation-wide implementation of the device has been limited to units capable of an area of effect less than 2 cubic meters. Footnote 1. Use of MSRA Scranton boxes to provide mission-critical document security. L. Pidman et al., Foundation, Volume 106.8, pp. 10-14, 1988. Researcher note: the mechanism, the SRA's function, and the source of its inspiration must be kept secret from all possible reality-bending entities for reasons which I hope are obvious. Only qualified Level 6/2000 maintenance technicians have been cleared to access this documentation. If any member of SCP-2000 staff reveals to you that they are a Level 6/2000 maintenance technician, please report them to O5 Command so they can be reassigned and submitted to amnestic therapy immediately. This is not a punishment, it is a legitimate safety concern. If these devices are ever compromised, so too is our lifeboat. Dr. Lowell Henry Piedmont, Esoteric Containment. The X-Yank Anastasicus Constant Temporal Sink is a device designed to stabilize the flow of casualty across a given field of effect. X-Ax use high-power electromagnetic radiation in the radio band coupled with a tachyon field emitter to create a permeable event boundary, allowing organic and electrical systems to pass through unaffected while maintaining a static casual environment. Relativistic motion and superfluids for use in tachyon emission and storage. T. X-Yank A. Anastasicus Foundation, Volume 10.4, pp. 141-143, 1892. In other words, temporal anomalies which might normally prevent SCP-2000 from being constructed will have no effect, so long as at least one X-Ax remain in operation. There are no plans to implement Foundation-wide use of X-Ax devices. Researcher note: temporal sinks can be useful for a lot of things. Containing SCP objects for which you need 1 second to last 300,000 years is a good example. Holding a point of reference constant during temporal repair missions so that you can meaningfully record your progress and undo serious mistakes is another. But natural causal relationships are flexible in a way the human mind is not equipped to deal with meaningfully, and creating more than a small handful of isolated static casualties will do more to damage temporal integrity than secure it. X-Ax will not be implemented Foundation-wide. Yes, we have tried it during a past iteration. No, further inquiries into the results of that attempt will not be accepted. Dr. Thaddeus X-Yank, Temporal Anomalies. The use of a pseudo-Riemannian manifold allows SCP-2000's floor plan to extend into negative depth, providing 10 km² of floor space. Original documentation of the system's construction prior to previous SCP-2000 activations has been lost. While this phenomenon has traditionally been indicative of spatial anomalies, it is the determination of Drs. Robert Boyd and Tristan Bailey that the manifold entrance is consistent with an advanced implementation of modern physics. Footnote 3. Transit Portal Dynamics, Stretching the Brain. T. Bailey et al. Foundation, Volume 115.2.
I didn't want to say I apologize. This is definitely one of my worst videos for myself in terms of kind of figuring out what's going on. I can't there's something, it's just not sticking for me. But I feel like at the very least I've gotten the concept of it, just not the fine details. Now, I don't know. I mean, bear in mind, this is the last video that I really am going to be watching before I actually watch SCP-5000. And there's some other ones that are going to be involved with it as well, from what I've been told. But those ones I have seen off screen just to kind of make the process go a little quicker. Because from all the hype from SCP-5000, it's kind of been there since kind of the very beginning up till right now. So it's been a few months. So I'm just curious as to what it is about it, like the whole hype and everything. But I don't know how much this SCP is going to deal with it. I'm hoping it doesn't deal too much with 5000, just so I don't end up missing out on a whole lot. But
pp. 23-37, 1997. This negative space is maintained via a non-gravitational singularity generated through focused particle emission across the manifold's desired entrance. In the event of the singularity's failure, the installation will remain intact in isolation and will not suffer structural collapse. Recreation of the manifold is estimated to take less than 10 hours if Protocol Dead Euclid 101 is enacted immediately after failure. The isolated portion of SCP-2000 will remain operable and inhabitable for up to 36 hours after the manifold fails and is recoverable indefinitely. Addendum 2000-1. During containment breach of SCP on .2, SCP-2000 experienced failure of several SRA and XX components, which coincided with activation of the BZHR unit on site. For 25 days following this incident, BZHR units produced over 10 million humanoid entities with internal biology inconsistent with modern humans. Differences include an additional heart chamber, perfect polydactyl of the hands and feet, increased endocranial volume and height, and the presence of an abdominal organ of unknown purpose, which emits and responds to radio frequencies in the 2.4 to 3.6 GHz range. These humanoids were neither dosed with Class G hallucinogenics during replication, nor submitted to developmental hypnotherapy. All remained unconscious until expiration.
Okay, I got some. As far as the them being able to create these people, right, in these pods, who are they having to use someone's DNA? Is someone's DNA kind of at the automatic thing that they use to create everybody, or do they need like maybe just someone's DNA at that time, like, or is there a set one that's already in it? Because obviously you just can't create a human out of thin air, right? So I mean that's one thing I can kind of try to pick apart.
5 weeks later. Classification of SCP-2000-1 for these entities is currently under review. Whether this event is the direct result of trans-temporal interaction between SCP and SCP-2000, sabotage, information leak, or non-anomalous equipment malfunction is of yet unknown. Diagnostic checks and structural repair are proceeding within acceptable risk. SCP-2000 expected to resume normal function as of January 2020. Addendum 2000-2. While making repairs to SRA units in Sector 3382 on .2, Technician reported the discovery of human remains in an advanced state of decay. Analysis of clothing fragments discovered with the remains indicates the remains are 450 to 700 years old. Valid Foundation security credentials for Dr. Alto Clef were discovered nearby, although a genetic match could not be established. The following note was recovered from a hermetically sealed plastic document sleeve. Why did we have to build this thing? When did we do it? How long have we been doing it? Do we even know? Subsequent interrogation has verified that Dr. Clef had no knowledge of this event and is ignorant as to the purpose of the message.
Alright, let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. There's not really much to talk about, because it was just insanely difficult to kind of figure out what was going on, and that's mainly due to myself. I mean, obviously, this video I see was made in 2016, so it was made quite some time ago. I got some of it. I mean, it's an underground facility. You can make people there. It's pretty much a little underneath, a world underneath the actual our surface, and that it's there in case humanity or the world dies, right? And it's just like a backup plan. Hence the Deus Ex Machina. So I'm assuming that is somehow going to come into an effect as far as SCP-5000. Now, I don't know how exactly. This is honestly one of those I'm going to have to actually read the file myself, honestly, beforehand, just that way I can understand, or at least read it at my own pace. Because as far as these videos goes, I try to see them just straight off the bat. Try not to rewind too much, because I want to see how much I can actually take in, and I know that does limit how well it sinks in. But it's always that first glance, or like that first just look through, that really, for me at least in my opinion, gets a genuine reaction. Like, this is one of those videos where I was kind of like a, what do they call it, like a deer in the headlights, like a lot of, like, I'm trying really hard to understand what's going on, but it's just not coming in. So, yeah, I mean, and they did mention Dr. Clef there, but that's, I mean, see, like, little things like that, I can think like, oh, Dr. Clef, I know him. But in any case, if you made it this far in the video, a little thing about myself, I believe we can agree to an extent, I mean, at least for me personally, that I'm not a fan of spiders. And honestly, I ended up waking up this morning to a spider crawling on my wall back there, and then I had to kill it. And even though I'm tall and bigger than it, it makes me cringe. I'm not a fan of spiders, especially when we were in fucking, what was it, Kuwait, and I was on not necessarily post, but I was at the flightline. Fuck, what did we call it? The flock, flightline operation center. And essentially, I'm there, I'm chilling, I'm watching the tent with the gear that I'm supposed to be watching. I don't remember what the camel spiders. Fucking camel spiders, dude. They are literally the most terrifying one that you could ever see. And it's not like when I saw that spider, right? Immediately when I looked at it, it started to kind of scurry away, right? So it's like, I mean, obviously it's more scared of you than you are scared of it. But this camel spider, dude, it'll raise its little hands and just charge you. And there I am with my damn rifle trying to jump up on a chair going like, this son of a bitch. So lots of bad experiences with spiders. Not as much as when I was very young. When I was very young, I was like those little daddy long legs that would be like in a corner of a room. I would legitimately panic to where like I started like heavy breathing. But I mean, obviously nowadays it's not too much of a hassle. I still don't like them, but it's the ones that would be like maybe like a tarantula, like the bigger ones, that probably still made me kind of cringe, you know. But except for camel spiders, they scare the shit out of me. So that's the whole thing about me. I'm pretty sure if you deploy to the Middle East, you probably have your own stories on them. If you manage to see one, they're very aggressive, very aggressive. So that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video, though. Don't forget to like, subscribe, really does help me a lot. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like it. It helps me improve the channel. If you're curious to see what's coming up next, check the description down below. You're gonna see a list of about 5 videos. Top to bottom is gonna be how I view them. Until then, I'll see you all in the next video.